Elaine is here. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Here for the Horses. Glad you are here for the horses. Hello, Elaine. You spelt your name wrong. It says Elaine. Um, Welcome. Glad you're here. I have just kind of something kind of fun today. A lot of you probably did not see the video that I just put up. It was like a half an hour ago. Actually, I think two of you did because I noticed I know, Heather, but you're in. I got so excited for a second. You're in the States now, but I know you're my token Canadian. Um, but yeah, I just put a video up, so we're gonna talk about that. But let's talk a little bit about the homework that we had for last week. Okay, it was on intentionality, being intentional. So I want to hear from some of you about how that went. I got a cool, who was talking about it? Someone was talking about some cool results. But the homework for last week was I want you to be intentional, and this was out of that book that I was sharing with you guys about what are you feeling for when you're palpating the horse? Okay, so you can palpate a bunch of different ways, and we're going to talk about that today. But one of the ways is, what do you see? So first, take a look at the horse, and what do you see? What's your eye drawn to? And I know that you guys are just like me when we're out driving and we scan the pasture that's full of horses, our eyes just go tick, 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 okay, I know that you do that. I don't know about you, but I was watching a herd of elk go by, okay? And I picked out the one that wasn't quite moving right. I'm like, restricted range of motion. Come here, buddy, I can help you. Okay, so TikToks, videos you see of horses coming in. I think it's so fun to watch them come in, one, because they're beautiful and we all love to watch that, but two, to go to the comments and find out the people that are like, did you guys see that red mare on on the right side with the white blaze and the one right hoof? That they were off on the left front, right? Okay, so we have an eye for it. We already have an eye for it. We're looking out for, the gait analysis naturally. I think I put a post up the other day of I did it of a cat walking across the street. Okay. But we already have an eye for it. So now what I want to do, and I've already told you, I want to ruin all photos of horses for you because I want you looking at the muscles. I want you finding areas that you can tell that that horse is tight. Okay. And it just recently happened to me. So I'm going to show you, I'm not going to play the video because he covers it up half the time, but I'm going to show you something and I want you to take a look at it and we're going to talk about it. But our homework was, I want you to palpate the horse. So first look at the horse, see what you find. And then I want you to palpate the bone. So find the bone. Then I want you to palpate muscle. Okay. And then I want you to palpate skin. So I spent a little time on Sir Chester Pants, and I noticed as I was working on him, he does these like funny twitches. Okay. So I was running my hands along him, and the areas that he is now tight have dramatically decreased. So now I'm kind of looking for areas. So he still has kind of his heart girth area that has some triggers and tight area. And unfortunately for him, he has a very like his chest goes down like this, and then it's really narrow at the bottom. So he has a very small place where the girth is going to come up and put pressure to keep the saddle on. So you have a big barrel horse. That's great because they have a lot of pressure, but he's very narrow. It almost comes to a point. So I'm sure that there is some tension there at the sternum because when you cinch the saddle up, and he hasn't been saddled by me, but he's so narrow there that it's going to put a lot of pressure there. So that's going to be something I'm going to have to pay a lot of attention to. But as I was working on him, he I found areas with my hands as I was palpating, and I just stayed there and I waited for those areas to release. I didn't actually do any work other than warm hands on the area, releasing the fascia. And it was pretty amazing how great that worked. And just recently, I saw another really well-known, or a really well-known massage therapist. I mean, I think her business is called Online Equine Massage, but she had put out a post that said, massage doesn't always have to be hard and fast or something like that. And I saw that post and I'm like, that's very true. And then of course I think to myself, but sometimes it does, right? So sometimes I see people going too soft and I'm like, you're going to have to kick it up about 3 notches. So the more flexibility you have and the more things that you practice, the better you're going to be for your horse and the more horses you're going to be able to help. Okay. So those of you that run across a lot of horses, whether it's farrier work, training, you go out on trail rides a lot, you do fun stuff, you have a lot of horses, the more you practice different things with them, the better you're going to be. And you guys know that Chester and Georgia are pretty much opposites. So for those of you that have more than 2 horses, you probably have some opposites in the herd. So it's fun to practice the different techniques on them and see what you can find. Okay. So anyone have anything cool they wanted to share about last week's homework? Feel free to unmute and just fire away. Did anyone get to try it?
I'll go ahead and start.
Sure.
Can you hear me? So the one thing I noticed this week is that bones are much easier than muscles.
Yeah.
Because as I'm feeling them, I got that jaw, and that's high. And then, you get up here. Now you don't really feel the neck, cervical that much and stuff, but you get down, you got the shoulder, you got, and this just going bone to bone is just easy. And then am I going to the muscles like, okay, this is the rhomboid. I know that this is, but there's so many more muscles and muscle groups than the bones. Well, if you don't call it, each spine or each cervical, you don't count those individually. But so I noticed that was just kind of an observation on my part. Like, okay, I can get to the bones pretty good. The muscles are a little more challenging. Everybody was pretty soft in their rumps, which I thought was good. Mystic Knight was my issue this week. She came in real stiff-legged, and I thought it was just from the cold. She had some problems this summer, and I thought, well, it's just coming out. So I spent a lot of time with her this week, doing red light treatments on her legs and stuff. And I was going through, okay, I've got, to check her ting points. And lo and behold, she must have had and now the word just escaped me, an ulcer on her hoof right above the bulb, just at the very end of her hoof. And usually they do in the front or the side, but this was like right here.
Huh.
And I never could see it. She had hair over it. And I think that's what it was. So I was really glad I took, the extra time to really look and not just make an assumption.
That's so awesome. And that is one of the things I love about body work is you find all these weird things, slivers, ulcers, cuts, sensitive areas, bruises, rain rot, right? Haven't we all found some rain rot
Yeah,
or some little
I've
funky
got that
funk?
on Buckaroo. I'm rubbing his back and oh, another bit, and so then I'm putting oil on it and stuff. And then last time I did Ellie's ears, she was still tight. You didn't think I got her, totally released. So I spent some time on her. And really what I found worked was just putting my hand up behind her ear and just holding it. It was actually that muscle group, which I know there's a few right there,
Yeah.
behind her ear. And I mean, they were rock hard. And when I was doing her ear per se, I wasn't really getting, I mean, I was probably moving them, but it was just that putting my hand and just resting it there.
That
So
direct attention to it. That's
Yeah, and
awesome.
then she really did a good job. And then the funny thing is, once I did the one side, I got around the other side. Yeah, she was fine with that. So I think it was like a mental thing, like, oh, that feels good now. The other side's feeling better too.
Yeah, so that can actually be called mirroring.
Oh, okay.
So what you're gonna find actually, and you'll see that I wouldn't technically say it was mirroring with Georgia on the video that I'm gonna talk about today, but mirroring is when one side, and let's say this is the back, let's say this side is really tight and pulled really tight. This side, in order to balance the horse out, will tighten up. Okay, so you're not going to have like a loose floppy side over here. You're going to have this side's tight. So the body, in order to make sure that the spine doesn't get kind of funky or that they can move better, will tighten up. And that's called mirroring. So if you work on this side and it is mirroring, it loosens. And then you come back and you come over here and it loosens if you get it. Okay. Or if you have mirroring going on and you loosen the side that's causing the issue, the other side loosens before you get over there. Okay. So that's how you know if that's happened. It's pretty fun when that happens. It's pretty fun. It doesn't happen too much, but that does happen. So it's pretty cool. Thanks, Leon. That was good. Right on. Anybody else? I'm looking at you, Nancy.
No, I didn't get a chance to play with them this week. Too many doctor's appointments and it's cold. I mean,
Yeah.
cold, but it just didn't happen this week.
Okay.
I visualized the bones where they were because I could look at the chart and visualize bones, but that's as far as I got.
Yeah, and then also with the bones in particular, I want you to see if you can feel the different areas that the muscles attach to. Okay, because it's like it's not that there's like a bone and then where it attaches to the joint, right? You got your little bone shape, but there are raised areas that those muscles attach to specifically. So like the greater trochanter, you know, the different areas of the bones like that. So see where those insertion points are and see if you can feel those, because you can feel the bigger ones. And that's kind of good to know also that like main muscles attach into that area. So especially on the femur, feel for that one. That's a good one to know where it's at. Because I was talking to somebody once and they're like, is this bone or am I supposed to, is this a knot? I go, no, it's bone. Okay. So take a look at that stuff. All right. Okay. Any questions?
I have a question.
Yeah.
I know you talked about maybe at your advanced clinic where you went through insertion points and what's the other end called?
Origin and insertion.
Origin. Okay. And like on my muscle group, it really doesn't show me. Do you have a good diagram that kind of shows where the origin and
I do in my advanced course, but
oh,
so we'll talk about what I'm coming up with. I do
okay.
not have a diagram,
Okay.
but I have looked them all up. So I have figured out the origin and insertion.
Okay.
I don't, do I have them memorized? I have a lot of them memorized. But if you Google whatever muscle you're looking at,
Oh,
it'll
okay.
tell you, and I Google like brachiocephalicus, origin and insertion, and it tells you, and then it also tells you the action. So, oh
Okay.
wait, I kind of do. Wanda, didn't I give you some sheets that had origin and insertion? Wasn't that on those?
Yeah,
I
let,
think I
let
do.
me look. Yeah, I've got a file folder here. Let me see if what's in there.
Yeah, I have sheets. I don't have a diagram. That's such a good idea though, Leanne. I might write that down. Origin and insertion diagram.
I know when I'm feeling them, sometimes you get to like an indented part, and so I know
Yeah.
that's probably an insertion or origin, but I have no clue.
Yeah, and then so who can tell me what makes the origin special?
I'm just gonna guess, is it the stable end of the muscle and the other end is the moving muscle?
Yep,
Moving
that's
end?
right. So the insertion, the origin is normally attached to the stable part of the skeleton, and the insertion is attached to the area that moves.
Mm.
Okay, so origin is like the base, home base, and then the insertion is the part that that muscle is moving. Now, you might think to yourself, they're always gonna be, you know, like in my own mind, I go, okay, well then the origin is probably at the top and then the insertion is at the bottom. No. Sometimes it's really cool. Sometimes the origin is in the back of the horse and the insertion is in the front. So your longer muscles going up the trunk. Okay. Or sometimes the origin is at the sternum and then the muscles go out from there. Okay. So it is fun to study the origin and insertion. Okay. Any other questions before we take a look at something?
I just sent those to you, the ones that you sent to me.
Oh, email or what?
Email, and there's 4 pages.
Okay, cool. Let me look it up real quick. I think I pulled these out from my first school,
Oh,
which did it. They did a good job.
So I have a question that's not exactly
Yeah.
related.
Sure.
Because I wasn't, this is my first time being here, but after you came out and I realized, oh, how much Rhythm enjoyed having her face rubbed and all that kind of stuff. I was doing that, and then I started like rubbing on her neck and up around the pole. And I noticed she was really, really tight up at the top of, almost not quite at the pole, but the upper part of her cervical vertebrae, really tight up there on the left side. And then on the right side, and I tried doing some rubbing and just moving her neck and stuff like that. And on the right side, she had this like awesome release. She was, making all those facial things that horses do. But on the left side, no. On the left side, I just like couldn't get any kind of response. And so I was like, well, what do I do now? I had no idea.
That's completely normal. Yep. So you're not always going to have equal release on both sides. And to be honest with you, I know we've talked about this before. These grandiose releases are fun and we love them, right? When horses yawn, we love it. But you don't want them releasing a ton of tension every time you work on them because that tells you something. They always have a ton of tension. Okay. So sometimes when you're working on your horse, you get these big grandiose releases. My most important massage is the second one when I come back because I want to know what's left. What's gone and what's left. Because when you have something that it's gone, you got it. That's fantastic. But if you come back and half of it's gone, half of it's still there, that tells you that's probably more of the primary issue, right? The other stuff was probably secondary. And then what's also very interesting is sometimes, I don't remember who I was talking to, but they were like, what's crazy is that I was releasing tension and I got all these muscles to release and then different muscles were tight the next time I went out. I was like, yeah, that's normal. Okay, that can happen too. It's kind of like you're unwinding the horse, right? So they have been in a state of compensating for so long that all these muscles are engaged to like hold their body together and make it so that they can function. And then you release these big ones, right? That are like really tight, or you can tell this is kind of like where the bulk of the issues are. You come back and all of a sudden those other ones have creeped to the surface and you're like, oh, okay, round 2, here we go, ding, ding. So that's fun too. And then you come back again and you go, what's left now? Okay, so that's totally normal. Right side might be tight, left side might be loose. I like it when I mean, I'm gonna be honest, I like it when they're equally tight. Okay, just because it shows me that they're not, using one side more than the other, but it's more unlikely when they're equally tight. Okay, so that's pretty normal. Check it out again, come back to it in a week or two, see what you find. Okay, let me show you guys what Wanda just sent me. So this is the sheet that I had. It's kind of small. But let's take a look here. Let's look at the splenius. Okay, we all know the splenius is the muscles that feed into the, well, actually, I don't need to tell you because it's going to tell me right here. The origin is the dorsal spinous process of T4 through T6. So where is that? Where's T4 through T6? Somebody knows.
Thoracic.
Thoracic. Thoracic. Okay, so it goes cervical, thoracic. So T4 through T6 is the withers. Okay, so the splenius starts at the withers. Okay, and then where does it go? It inserts at the nuchal crest. Okay, the atlas, the transverse process of C3, C4, C5. Okay, so it starts at the withers. Its origin is the wither. That's where it's strong and its base is, and then it goes up to the top of the head, and then pretty much C1, C2, C3, C4, C5. So all the cervical vertebra except for C6 and C7, which are really deep. Okay, so there's an example of one that starts in the back and goes forward. Okay, so and then what's the action? Contraction on both sides extends and elevates the head and neck. Okay, so you have it on both sides. If both sides contract, it actually extends the head and neck. Okay, contraction on one side laterally flexes the head and neck of that side. So, well, let's go a little deeper. What do we do that relaxes that? What affection do we do that relaxes or stretches that area?
Would that be the head lift, the head on your shoulder?
That's going to be, so people call that the pole release, but that's
Okay.
actually a throat latch release of the brachiocephalicus, the
Oh, okay.
ulnohiatus and the sternohiatus.
I thought it would be your neck range of motion.
Yep.
Lateral flexion.
Yep, lateral flexion, neck range of motion. And it's important that we do the neck range of motion, lateral flexion, the way that we do it, because what if only one bundle of the splenius at C3 is stuck? What does the horse do if that's the one that's stuck? Yeah, they use the rest of the neck. That's why the way we do it is important. Okay. So I can shoot those over to you too, Leanne, if you want them.
I would like to at least start to look at them,
Okay, cool. And then, well, and I'll run into it right now. I'm going to be doing a, you know how we did the sore back series? I'm going to be doing an advanced anatomy series. So those of you muscle nerds that want to learn origin, insertion, and fancy names of muscles, it'll be right up your alley. Okay. Carrie, yes. Let me write stuff down because my memory is garbage. Leanne. Sheets for muscles. But, and then I'm going to be putting together my advanced series, and me, Nancy. I'm going to be putting together an actual advanced clinic online. Sue, you're pushing it, Sue. And then, I'm going to be kicking that out. It's going to take a while. It's going to take a while. Okay. But it's going to happen at some point. Okay. Any other questions? All right, let me show you something. And I paused it. So what I want you to do is I want you to look at what I'm going to pull up. And here it is. Okay, everybody look, don't say anything. Don't say anything. I want everyone to look at this. Now, this is a great This guy is really cool. I just kind of found him. But I want you to look at this photo and I want you to tell me what you see that looks strange. Cause when I saw this, my brain stopped listening and my eyeballs just went like, what's happening here? Okay, so everybody take a minute to look at it. And I know there's some stuff going on, but my eyes went to one spot very specifically.
I see two spots immediately.
What's that?
I see two spots immediately. The nose is switched a little bit to one side, and they're on the underneath the withers on when you're on the horse's left side, there's an indention.
Okay.
Mhm.
What else does somebody see?
It looks like this weird kind of like little bulge on, kind of the front of the rib cage on the left side, just kind of, I mean, I don't know. It just seems like it's kind of bulging out a little bit.
Okay,
And
excellent.
I saw the withers in that bulge on the ribs too. I did not notice that the head wasn't straight.
Yep.
The stance and the front legs are wider.
Yeah, I think that's probably, I'm gonna say that's probably just the way he's standing and isn't a reflection on body, but I don't know for sure. Not with the scapulas looking like that. All right, who else? Okay,
Is
my eyes,
Oh.
oh, go ahead.
Is the body a little bit tilted, like one side's more developed than the other?
Probably, I mean, this side looks a little more developed, but it could be because this side's all jammed together. Look
Yeah,
at the
okay.
ribs.
Yeah.
Look at those ribs are flat. Why are the ribs flat? I'm concerned. Okay, I want to see a big, round, fluffy rib cage right here. Okay, so these ribs right here, they're like concave. That's a problem. So if you were to follow this line up, I mean, the belly right here should be like out to here. I don't know if my cursor's making it look funky, but I want round, like, see how the booty's round? That round right there should be on the ribs also. Okay. So you have ribs that for some reason are jammed. And then you have this, I can almost guarantee you, is the serrate sticking out from behind the scapula, right? We talk about that a little bit. And then you have the scapula that's flat. Now, this is a big horse. This horse is no joke. So this entire side of the body is really stuck. Okay, so I'll hit the play button here. But look over here now. That's the serrate. This guy has great information, just so you know. Oh, there's a release. That was funny. Did you guys see that? So he got attention on the head and the horse released. That was kind of cool. Yeah, so this guy does some cool stuff. So I'm gonna let you watch it muted just because you'll start listening what he has to say, which is interesting. It'll come up here again in a second, but I want you to watch, like, look at this horse needs a good old fashioned massage, if you know what I mean. He's talking about don't pull on the face, move the hind end. That's where you go from, okay, serrate, boom, serrate. Okay. This side's not as bad, but look at here and look at there. There's like indents, right? Can you see the indents? This side's not as bad. And then look how it flips over to the, see how that side's rounder? And then look at this side when he moves his arm. We have some pretty serious restrictions on this horse's rib cage. Look at that. Isn't that wild? You see the difference from the sides? Okay. So what I wanted to do, that inspired me. I'm glad I actually saved it because, I wanted to show you guys that because it kind of tripped me out when I saw it. But I just put up a video. So let me find it here. Here it is. Okay. Share screen. Share it. Okay, can you guys see that?
Mm-hmm.
This is called Ribs, Flank, and Loin, Oh My. Okay. And I just put this up on the coaching community, and I don't think I have put it up on the public page yet. So I think there's a couple of you that's not on the coaching, in the coaching community yet. But let's take a look here. Let's take a look. We have time. And then it's decided it's going to change. Now, obviously, we have to change direction, but there's a very distinct line right here. Okay. So what I want to take a look at is, does that correlate with tension in the back? Like, is that hair feeling and looking different because there's tension in the back? Okay, so without even touching her, I could tell that she was tight. There's also a raised area right here, like a little band. There's a little dip in right here. This gets a little tight, and then there's a little dip right here. Okay, so this area looks pretty good. That looks pretty normal. There's some, rolling, pulling here, here. Okay, and then this looks tight down here. So I'm not going to get into the hind end. The hind end also plugs into that and gives you information on that. I'm just going to focus on this area right here. Let me give you a little bit different view and see if you can see it. Okay, do you see this right here? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then there's a bump there. Okay. So I don't know how much you can see on the camera, but it's just a little bumpy. Ribs should look nice and round and fluffy. Okay, so let me just show you what I'm going to do to loosen that up. First thing is get an idea of what it feels like. Okay. Oops. And I don't care how. What happened? Sorry. Okay, I meant to pause this other thing. Hold on. Okay, so let's take a look at this. Did you guys see what I was pointing at? Do you see how this section here looks tight? And this section here looks just gorgeous. Okay, everybody can see that. So that's what, my eye got caught here. Now let's listen to how I palpated it too. And I don't care how you do it. You can do it with a flat hand that just goes over the whole area. You can get an idea that way. I'm going to do this again and tell you what I'm feeling. There's a lot going on. Okay. She's looking at me. Okay. You can do it like that. That's like effleurage. You can do circles. Okay. So this feels good. As I said, it also looked good. Okay. Right here, there's a lump. Just a little raised area. Okay. This is sunk in and tight. Okay. So then if I start here, there's a raised area here that's going down this direction. There's a dip here. There's a sticky area here. So I call them sticky areas or dead areas. They don't feel like they're moving. They're not moving the way that they're supposed to. This is sunk in and very tight right here. And it's not going in the direction, it's going in a different direction than the ribs. So the ribs don't have that much of an angle. This is kind of angling more than the ribs actually do. So it's not just tight ribs. Okay. This is really sunk in. I can tell there's a fascia line right here that's going. Okay. I don't feel obliques. Oh, yes, I do right here. All right. So I have a lot going on here. So let's start by warming it up. And I'm actually starting to press in now. So now I'm doing circles with a purpose of actually loosening and warming up some tissue. So I can feel like lumps and raised areas here. It's on the rib shelf. There's a very dead spot right here. So now I'm going to trace those ribs a little bit, see if I can get there's a lick and chew. Let's see if I can get my fingers in. There's a lot of stuck tissue right here. You guys kind of see how that's not moving all that great? And then you get up and then it moves. See how that moves better? Rolls. That moves real nice. Feels pretty good. The serrate doesn't feel like it's having any issues. We were just talking about the serrate. Okay, there's a tight band. That's right when there's a bulge here. There's a tight band right here on the rib shelf. So let me focus on the rib shelf here for a second and see what I can make happen. I go up, back down. There's definitely like a spot right here. Let's try some slaps. She's dropping her hips, so I'm kind of pushing her a little bit. She's kind of shifting her weight on us. There's a lick and chew. I'm gonna move down a little bit. This is loosening up right here. That's loosened up. Do you guys see that kind of? I don't know if you can see that it's jiggling better now. You guys see that now? That's how quick that loosened up. Okay, so we try a different method. This was interesting. Yep, this gives a little, that's more intense. There's a spot right here. Whole band. Oh, that's tight. That influenced up here. I'm gonna press up and hold, see if that does it. She's looking at me now. I'm gonna just hold here. There it goes. My left hand just released underneath my left palm. Yep, again. Kind of going with her breath. I'm slightly pressing. Here, she just cocked her hip and released even more. Up this way. I'm holding up and over. Slightly pressing up. There we go. Watch my fingers slide now as it loosens up. There. I'm not moving my hands. They're just moving because the tissue underneath them isn't holding them back anymore. There we go. Oh, I just felt that full ring mode under my right hand. Okay. Don't burn your arms out. You can lock them out and then just use your body weight. George goes, that's more intense. Oh, there we go. I just felt that other ring. She just did a big breath. There's the breath. Okay. So I want to take us to the other side because it was very interesting. So I continued and I did some more slaps and then I continued kind of rubbing that out good. So let's go. And then I sat and watched her to see if she was going to release right here. Like a big release, which is what I was expecting. And she did not. So I was like, okay. So I left her there. I probably waited a good minute and nothing released. So let's go to the other side. The other side was really interesting. This is going to be our homework, by the way. A little waviness. The ripples. Okay. So use your eyes first. Okay. What's up here? See the trigger points? What's that? It's nothing crazy, but do you see how that circle really stands out? Okay. So let's see what it feels like now. Well, that feels really good. This all feels really good. Much better. And this is soft too. This up here is soft. That's moving just fine. That surprised me a bit. Let's go down a little bit. Oops. Got a little stickiness there. Oop, there's a lump. That's a full-on rib right there. That's a rib. There's another rib. Oh, she says, oh, she's rubbing her face on the wall. There's one rib, 2 ribs, 3 ribs. There's a liquid chew. Okay, so these 3 ribs are tight and sticking out a little bit. Oh, there's 1, 2, 3. Yep. Okay, so we got these 3. 1, 2, 3. It goes all the way down. So it's these 3 right here. So let me focus on just these 3 ribs real quick. She's looking and chewing a lot right now. Now she's fidgeting, licking and chewing. Licking and chewing. There's a tight, sticky area right there. Going up that rib right there. There's a rib shelf right there that's a little tight. So tight. Yep, that's tight. Okay. Oh, she looking at me. Ooh, she was looking at me. Okay, warm it up. Just trying to get these ribs to relax a little bit. Let's do some circles. I got my hands kind of this. So I've noticed on some of my videos, it looks like I'm doing stuff real light. I'm not really that light when I work. Some people are, which can also work really well. I work a little deeper. I can go light when I want to. But I also kind of like to get in. Oh, she's looking at me for real now. I like to kind of get in there and see what I can feel. There. Oh, geez. I don't know if you saw the triggers that went up there. Well, that's loosened up. See that dip? Spot right there. Can you guys see this dipping down? Oh yeah, you guys can see it. There you go. I know, I'm so sorry. It doesn't really feel that great, so sometimes they'll look at you like, why are you doing that? Oh, that's all triggering up here. I'm just kind of getting my fingers in between those ribs there and asking them to relax. You can press forward. Oh, I got a yawn. There's a yawn. So she probably didn't release very much on the other side because the real side that was tight is this side over here. It's probably these three ribs. There's another yawn. So that's mirroring. The other side was mirroring. Okay, let's do some slaps and pounds. She's gonna yawn again. I can tell she's like holding it in. There's another yawn. I don't like you guys missing the yawns. So I'm just gonna slap these wrists. She doesn't do it on camera again. Of course not. Come to the front and press back. That's all moving pretty darn good. Get up to here, it gets a little tight. All right. From the back, press forward. She's like, boy, oh boy. The forward action is getting her. Okay. Flap, 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 flap. Check the ribs now and see if there's. Feel those same three ribs. You guys see how much better that skin moves now? Oh, it's beautiful. Wow, that's way better. Yeah. Okay, so that was pretty easy work to get those to relax. That's good. You know, I don't want it to be a lot of work to go. There's a yawn. She's funny. Area right here. Right there. Really common area for them to get tight. There's a yawn. There's a yawn. Press forward. Press down. Try different stuff. Try different stuff. Okay. Now let's see what she has to say. If we turn our back toward her, you guys can see that her neck and shoulder is tight right there, right? Super tight. And her neck. Neck and shoulder. Look and chew. You guys didn't hear it, but that was a really big blowout. Real big blowout. I'll let you guys go now. Where does time flies, man? Where does it go? 18 minutes. Okay. So I'm going to, for those of you that are not on the coaching community yet. Let me get this video so you can watch it this week. Please let me out of here. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna copy it. Boop. Copy. I'm gonna put it in the I'm gonna put it in the chat. Here it is. So check it out. There you go. Okay. That's gonna be our homework for this week. Okay. So step 1, palpate visually. See what you find. Okay. Look at what looks tight. What sticks out to you on the ribs, barrel, flank, all that feeds in there, the loin. So loin, ribs, and flank. Okay. And then I want you to palpate it with your hands. Now you saw me use a couple different methods. Sometimes I'll palpate in circles. Sometimes you do effleurage. Okay, flat, warm hand, effleurage the whole body. And what you're doing is you're like, what do my hands feel? Okay, lumps, bumps, scratches, scrapes, raised hair, dead areas, trigger points. Okay, so you can palpate, gently palpate. And then I want you to try to release whatever area you feel is tight. So on the ribs, you know, for the back, you can kind of go with it, see what happens. For the ribs, I like to rake. So how far apart are the ribs in general? What's the gap size in between each? Yep. The gap size in between. Yeah. So you'll do pretty good. I got big hands, but you'll do pretty good if you use your fingers. You can use your fingers as a rake. So it's really about the size of your thumb in between your ribs. But you can cover more ribs if you use your fingers. And like I said, I have big hands, so I can get about 3 of them. But you can do it individually with just your thumb. Okay. So you're gonna rake the ribs down in the direction that they go. We're gonna do that first because we want to, like if they're super tight, we don't want to go in hog wild and be pushing in the wrong direction, right? So this is step 1 is the most mild with the ribs from the top to the bottom. Okay. Step 2 is going to be front to back. So kind of across the ribs. So you're going to go across them, front to back. Step 3 is going to be from the bottom up. Bottom up. Make sure you're hitting the right angle. One thing you want to look for is, do the ribs pop my finger out of the trough? Okay, that's tight fascia generally, or it's the intercostals are too tight. So if you're going along, all happy, and then all of a sudden one of your fingers pops a track and goes into the other rib, that's a tight area. You got to loosen that up. If you find trigger points, that's where it shoots a trigger to a different part of their body. You want to go slowly over those and use direct pressure if you know exactly where they're at. Okay. So we've gone from the top down. We've gone from the front back across them. We've gone from the bottom up. Now we're going to go from the back forward. And that was the one where you saw Georgia like take a look and like, whoa, that's the most intense. And that's going to be the one that actually probably loosens that's the one that got Georgia both sides. That's going to loosen them ribs up. And I mean, I just kind of like to use my body, kind of go with it back to the front. Okay. And then, I mean, Robin, that was a pretty good example of mirroring. She had licks and chews on one side and then 10 yawns on the other side and a blowout. Okay. And then what are we not going to forget to do? What am I always like? Don't forget to slap and pound. Leanne's like, oh man, I knew that answer. Slap and pound, slap and pound. Always on the ribs, especially because what happens? That's how you get that big, the big blowout, the big release. You have to slap the ribs. You have to slap them. You got to like dislodge them. Help them out a little bit. Yeah, you're welcome, Elaine. I like steps also. And I mean, you're gonna watch that video, right? And I obviously didn't go in those steps because I go free willy sometimes, man. I do whatever I want. But you know, when you're learning or when you're trying something, it's nice to have some steps. But if you're like all of a sudden, like and I know you guys do that. I know you guys do that. Like I need to slap this area right now. Go for it. Go for it. Go for it. But in general, when you're trying something new, I want you to go from the less severe to and work your way up to the more intense, right? Because we don't want to go in hot on them. That's how they get defensive and then they lock up and they go, okay, you can hit the road, Jack, right? So if you start nice and soft and then just increase intensity, increase your strokes, whatever, change your strokes, see what you find. Okay. Any questions? Kay, how are you doing? I don't think I said hi to you yet. Any questions for anyone?
I'm good. I'm just working with an 18-year-old mare that doesn't know how to stop. So that's where I was all afternoon.
Oh, took a ride, huh?
Yeah,
Does she stop on the ground?
she does. Well, she's done hundreds of trail rides and no groundwork.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So her owner passed away a couple of years ago. So I am doing a care lease, but it's fun. It's really rewarding when she
That is
stops.
fun.
Yeah, it's good
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
Right on. Cool.
Yeah.
What's her name, Kay?
Mojo.
Mojo. Oh, she got some mojo.
She got some mojo. She does. She doesn't know. She's never been asked to go slow. And so she's learning how to go
Okay.
slow. Yeah.
Yep. There's
Yeah.
people like that though, you know, they don't want to go slow. They're just like,
Yeah.
my horse likes to haul butt, so do I. Let's rock.
Yeah. And that was good for her, but it's not so great for me or anybody else that wants to ride her right now.
Well, that's the thing. I was riding with some people that had Tennessee walkers, you know, and Georgia
Yep.
was just like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. Why are
Yeah.
they going so fast? They're not even enjoying this.
Yeah. She's a foxtrotter, so she's
Oh,
got
there you
that.
go.
But
That's right.
she hasn't been asked to smooth out her gaits in a long time. So she's pretty
Okay.
rocky. Yeah.
Cool. Well, that'll be fun. Good
Yeah,
for
I
you.
think so. Thanks.
All right. Any questions on the homework?
Kingston, his skin is usually just really loose. I mean, when I
Okay.
was working on the other day, his loin was just really loose, and yet you remarked that his ribs were probably tight.
They
But
look tight. Yeah.
so I just have to learn to feel under the skin, even if the skin's loose. That I gotta
Well,
say,
yeah,
okay, his skin's
because
loose.
just because the skin's loose doesn't mean the muscles are,
Mhm.
right? So the top layer, and remember you got multiple layers, not really on the, I mean,
Yeah.
you do on the ribs, but not like on the glutes or something like that. But yeah, the
Right.
skin could be loose in one area, but in between the ribs could still be stuck. So like if
Right.
the ribs are kind of like stuck like this, the skin on top of them could be moving just fine. But they're jammed together. So you have to come along and go like, hey, you shouldn't be like that. And then they can separate. So give it a try with him and see how that works out. Cause I could see his ribs in the last video and that's not like him. So I was like, oh, his ribs look tight. Oh, that's another point I'd like to make. Anytime you are working on a horse that is at body weight, okay, but you can see their ribs. A lot of times people think, oh, that horse is skinny, but they're at body weight. That's tight ribs. Okay. So always see if you can loosen those ribs up and then all of a sudden you have a fat, round, happy horse that's fluffy. And you're like, oh, okay, that's right.
That'll be interesting because his rubs are showing. She said they
Yeah.
are showing.
Yeah, and I hadn't seen that on him before. So either he's lost a bit of weight or his ribs are tight.
I haven't measured him lately, but I doubt that he's lost any weight.
Right on. Okay.
I had a quick question.
Yeah.
I was, as I was working with Mystic Night this week, she has an area, oh, I should know. It's behind the ribs, but it was like an indent right there. And so is that just, I mean, it's like, I worked my hand in it, but it was very concave. And I
Was
did
that on lower on the ribs?
lower
in
on
the
the
back?
ribs at the back,
Yeah, so obliques.
obliques. Okay. So
Obliques.
when
I
it's
think I saw that on something.
okay.
And then also, when the obliques come up and plug into that point of hip, sometimes when that gets pulled tight, it can make that, but a lot of times I attribute that to like stomach issues.
Well, and see, and that's what I was wondering. I actually patted her belly a lot because it almost felt a little too hard, like on that area of
Yes,
her belly.
that I agree. I think
And
you're on the
so
right path. It
I
didn't
just,
look muscular to me.
yeah, so I just, was like, wow, she just feels, not really horribly distended, but very tight right there. So,
Yes,
I did the
I
pat.
agree.
Okay.
Good eye. Yep, I noticed it and was kind of thinking something along the line, but I couldn't tell if it was just the way she was standing or what. So yeah, I agree. Okay, anything else? Yeah, go ahead, Jennifer.
So, I just popped in to check this out. How do I get information about the coaching community?
So real quick, just for anyone who needs it, so I have an online clinic that teaches you how to massage your horse from ears to tail, like everything. And everyone on here, 80% of the people on here have taken that. Once you order that clinic, you have access to it. You get put into the coaching community. And then when you're in the coaching community, I do videos for everyone. People can also submit videos to me of them working on the horse. And then I do voiceovers on them and give them tips and tricks. And then also, we are starting something called Journey Through the Horse in January. And that's where each week I give out homework kind of like I did. But let me pull you up real quick what I'm talking about. I'll give homework out every week that goes along with the clinic. So I'll pull up the clinic for you so you can take a look at it. Whoops. Share. Okay, so view. So here's the clinic. Okay. Now, you can start off at signs of release, enjoyment, and concern. That's a video where I talk about what you're looking for. Safety tips and tricks. I don't want anyone to get hurt, so we go over that. Pole and ears. So let's say we start in January again. We're gonna meet on this, and I say homework for this week is pole and ears and the jaw rub. And then that week you can do those two, videotape yourself, submit it to the coaching community, and I do a voiceover on it. And then we talk about cool stuff that happened that week with homework on the next Sunday here for the horses. And then I give out homework again. I say, okay, we got that done, TMJ, hyoid, and jaw release. And that we homework for that week. Okay, so if you go into, here is the video. So it's a 4-minute video. They're short and sweet. And then, there's little factoids. Humans have 3 ear muscles, horses have 10, right? And Ellie was like, yeah, the tight one's back here. That's what I'm talking about, right? These 2 affections are called affections, can help with the following: head shyness, ear shyness, shaking the ears a lot. And then I just give a little talk down about it. Okay. So that's kind of how we run that. That's called Journey Through the Horse, and that'll be starting in January.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay. Good. All right. Well, thanks everyone. See y'all Sunday.
Thank you.
See you. You're welcome. See your home. Oh, hi, Michelle.
Bye.
I saw you. I saw you when you came in. All right. Talk to you guys later.
Okay, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.